Ladies and gentlemen, Rohit Chopra.
You know, every so often in our history, there are Americans who are willing to take on the big fights, even if it ruffles the feathers of powerful interests. You know, a century ago, Teddy Roosevelt had the courage to take on America's most powerful banker, a man named J.P. Morgan, and other monopolists who were manipulating the market. And every so often, there are those with the intellect and the vision to make the American dream open to more people. 50 years ago, Lyndon Johnson signed the Higher Education Act into law to help students go to college no matter where they came from. Today, we want to honor someone who is willing to pick a fight for what's right. Now, I have a question for you. Does anyone come to mind? Is there someone we know who is filled with courage and conviction and speaks truth to power? Is there someone we know who oozes intellect and energy and fights for what's right? I think I know somebody. And she's here. Please give a very warm and loud welcome to Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Good morning. All right, that'll get you up in the morning. That's what I like to hear. So I want to start by saying thank you very much to Rohit for the very kind introduction. I want to thank Rohit for his work at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau as the student loan ombudsman for the last several years. He has been an amazing leader, and he has made the consumer agency a powerful resource for student borrowers and a key player in tackling our student loan debt. And besides that, I hired him and I love him. So go Rohit, my guy, my guy. I also want to thank Neera Tandon and everybody at the Center for American Progress and Generation Progress for inviting me to join you. I really do appreciate this opportunity because I wanted to be with leaders, with a room full of leaders, and that's why I'm here today. I wanted to be with leaders to talk about how we fight for progressive change in our communities, in our states, and in our nation. And if any of you need a little proof about why it is so important that we come together to talk about how we should fight to make progress, I just want you to look at what's happened in the Supreme Court in just the last month. Let's put a little perspective on this. 10 years ago, if someone had told you that we would have national health care reform and 50-state marriage equality in 2015, you probably would have asked what they were smoking, because it would have been good stuff. But the fighters, the people who believe in change, they were the ones who got out and made it happen. They took punch after punch, year after year, from some of the most powerful interest groups in this country. But they never stopped fighting. And last month's Supreme Court ruling showed you get what you fight for. Yeah. You bet. You know, take a look at the case that affirmed the right to marry for gay and lesbian Americans. What is truly remarkable about the case is not the outcome, but the people who made it possible. All of the many individuals across our nation who came forward to fight for justice, to fight for equality, to fight for liberty for all of our country's citizens. The United States Constitution guarantees due process and equal protection of the law for everyone. But for generations, these broad constitutional protections stood side by side with state laws that went out of their way to discriminate against LGBTQ Americans. And remember, the path to the Supreme Court was not easy. State after state fought us. They enshrined in their constitutions that only some, not all, couples could marry. But we didn't give up. We fought harder. Americans across this country, people with very public jobs and people who had spent years in the shadows, people stepped forward and worked to expose ugly discrimination for what it is. And because of their fight, liberty and equality for all of our fellow citizens, and our nation will no longer look away from what our Constitution requires: equality for all. I talk about this because these victories on health care and marriage equality, show that we can win if we fight for progress. And now, more than ever, we need to be out there fighting. We need you because, let's face it, the game is rigged. Washington works great if you're a millionaire or a billionaire or a giant corporation. Washington works great if you can hire armies of lobbyists and lawyers. But Washington is not working for young people who are trying to build a future, and it's not working for America's families. It wasn't always this way. Coming out of the Great Depression, America invested in opportunity. We invested in education. A grateful nation said to returning World War II veterans, we'll give you a GI Bill. We said to young people in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, NDEA loans will be subsidized because we want you to get an education. We passed laws to give federal assistance so that poor kids would have an opportunity to get a better education. We invested in education because we believed that if our kids got an education, they would have more opportunities to create something extraordinary. We also invested in roads and bridges and power grids. Why? We invested in those things because we didn't know what the next great small business was going to be, but we were pretty darn sure they would need electricity. Yeah. We were sure they would need those roads and bridges to get their goods to market. We were pretty sure they would need mass transit so workers could get to them. We made those investments, all of us together, so that we would have the right opportunities to let those small businesses grow and flourish and create even more opportunities for everyone in this country. And we invested in something else. What an extraordinary people. We invested in research, in medical research, and scientific research, and engineering research. We invested in research because we believed that if we built a giant pipeline of ideas, that our kids and their kids could build a future that we could only dream of. We made those investments and they worked. Now here's the thing, it was not a perfect time. We should never kid ourselves about those years. Women, blacks, Latinos, Asian Americans, gays, lesbians, transgender people were unwelcome in many places. But this country was bending the arc in the right direction. We were growing an economy, and we were bending it toward more opportunity for everyone. And I want to talk to you about what we know about those years. From 1935 to 1980, while we make these investments, while we bend in the right direction, the 90% of America, not the top 10, but the 90%, got 70% of all wage growth in this country. In other words, as our country got richer, our families got richer. And that was true across the board. It was true for families in the middle, for families below the middle, even opportunities for poor families, a chance to build something. This was a remarkable time in America. And then it changed. For more than 30 years, starting in the 1980s, the Republican leadership latched onto an idea that they called trickle-down economics. And then they got to work. They attacked wages, they attacked pensions, they attacked health care, they attacked unions, they attacked education, they attacked science, they attacked financial regulations, they attacked all the pieces that built a great middle class coming out of the Great Depression. Yeah, I want to hear a big boo around that one. Good for you. But the question you have to ask yourself, why? Why go after hardworking people? Why go after seniors and students? Why? To give bigger breaks and more special deals to those at the top. Trickle-down economics was nothing more than political cover for helping the rich and powerful get richer and more powerful. And trickle-down economics cut the legs out from underneath America's opportunity. And what's been the result? Well, remember how just a minute ago we talked about the 90% and how the 90% got 70% of all wage growth? Yeah, top 10% was doing a little better proportionally. But the point was the 90% had gotten 70% of all wage growth from 1935 to 1980. What happened from 1980 to 2012, the latest year for which we have numbers? How did the 90% do then? How much of the wage growth did they get? The answer? The 90% got none. Nothing. Zero. 100% of the wage growth in this country went to the top 10%. Income growth is all over in the top 10%. Think about what that means. This is an economy that doesn't work for working people. It's an economy that works only for those at the top. That is not the American dream, that is the American nightmare. Now, we can whine about it, we can whimper about it, or we can fight back. Me, I'm fighting back. I'm fighting back, and that's why I wanted to be here today with you, because I want you to fight back too. Look, this is pretty straightforward. This country must invest in its future. It must invest in the things that create opportunities for everyone and that move our country forward. One of the biggest areas we need to push for change in is that if we're going to rebuild the American dream and to give people a real chance to succeed, then we need to make college more affordable. Yeah. Right now, I don't have to tell you guys, but it's always good to get the numbers out there. College costs are exploding. A family trying to send someone to a state university today, adjusted for inflation, will pay 300% for that young person's education over what mom or dad paid just a generation ago. Those high prices are forcing more and more students and parents to take on mountains of debt just to get a degree. You know, lots of people go to college anyway, and they take on huge debt loads to make it possible. In just the last year, we've been talking a lot about over $1 trillion worth of debt, but I want you to think about this. In just the last 12 months, it's a pretty short time period, student loan debt in this country has jumped another $100 billion. People owe more than $100 billion more than they owed just a year ago. More than 2/3 of four-year college grads have borrowed money to get through school. Average debt loads, nearly $30,000. Low and middle income families are hit the hardest on this. Now that debt load is squeezing millions of young people, and it's squeezing them hard. Data show that Americans with student loan debt are putting off buying homes, putting off saving for retirement, putting off starting businesses. And the more people borrow to finance their educations, the more the resulting debt slows this economy. Already, the Treasury Department, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the Federal Reserve have sounded the alarm that the mounting student debt load is a real drag on economic growth. High college costs have created a vicious catch-22 in America. Our economy cannot flourish if we don't have enough college-educated workers, but our economy will stagnate if students take on bigger and bigger debt loads to pay for college. Degrees push us forward, but debt holds us back. The need for affordable colleges that offer a great education without crushing students with debt has never been clearer. Now, while not every college needs to graduate every student debt-free, every kid needs a debt-free option. A strong public university, yes. A debt-free option, a strong public university where it's possible to get a great education without taking on loads of debt. It is time to open the doors of opportunity wider and to invest in our future. Public colleges need more resources, but they must also be held accountable for lowering costs. States and federal governments cannot shirk their responsibility to keep pathways to higher education open to all, but they can and they should leverage their support to ensure that quality, affordable education is available to students and their families. Affordable college with debt-free options is not a dream. It is a very real opportunity to build a future for this country. Now, I just want to say about this one, I picked the example of college and the investment in college because it is deeply personal to me. I grew up in a family that had a lot of financial ups and downs, and nobody thought college was in the cards for me. I got a scholarship, I dropped out of school, got married at 19. I was so smart. But I finally made it to a commuter college that cost $50 a semester. Yeah, and I hung on for dear life. And that college opened a whole world to me. I worked hard, but I grew up in an America that was investing in opportunities for its kids. I believe in the America that produced a college that cost $50 a semester. I have seen what an education can do, and I believe that we can and we must make college affordable for every hard-working kid who wants to try. So this is it. We need you. We need you out on the front lines, fighting to make college more affordable. And we need you out there fighting for the kinds of progressive changes that level the playing field for hardworking Americans. Because if we want to build a stronger future, then it's up to us to fight for it. It's up to us to tackle the threat of climate change and to protect this planet. It is up to us to ensure that no one works full-time and still lives in poverty, and that means raising the minimum wage. It is up to us to push for comprehensive immigration reform now, not later, now. That's what makes America great. It is up to us. I love you too. It is up to us to make this country a place where every child, regardless of the color of his or her skin, can walk down the streets safely and know that opportunities are open. And it is up to us to make sure that all our kids, gay, straight, bisexual, transgender, can grow up in a country where all people have a chance to get ahead and where all people are safe and welcome. That's what we believe. And I gotta say one more, and I cannot believe I even have to say this in 2015, but it's up to us to fight for equal pay for equal work and a woman's right to control over her own body. Yes. 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 That's it. All right. All right. Now look, I don't kid myself. These fights won't be easy. Washington is a tough place. And unlike big corporations and powerful interests, students and families don't have armies of lobbyists and lawyers to press Congress to do what is right. Well, this is how I see it. They may have money. We have our voices. And if we raise our voices together, we make change, we make progress. So I'm here to ask. Try that one more time. Because I am here to ask, are you ready to raise your voice? Are you ready to make change? Because if you are, that's what we'll do. We get what we fight for. Are you ready to get out there and fight? All right.